What's up? Today we're going to talk about the fun part of management. It's the best part of management in today's Lead From Here podcast. It's difficult conversations. I'm being facetious. It is not the best part. It is not the most fun part. It's actually the worst part of leadership in my opinion, but it is one of the most important parts. Difficult conversations are what make or break somebody's career, ultimately. There's a lot of opportunities where difficult conversations, a lot of people, when they think difficult conversations, they think, oh, I'm laying somebody off or I'm firing somebody. But ultimately, if you're doing it right, your difficult conversations are happening prior to that. And in a lot of cases, you can actually save it from getting to that point. So the goal in a difficult conversation is not to be mean. It's not to, it's not to make them feel bad. It's not to tear them down. It's actually to build them up. Show them you're there to support them. Show them that you care. Because you do care. Because if you didn't care, you wouldn't tell them later you're messing up. You wouldn't tell them like, oh, hey, that thing you did, that's actually going to lead to your exit if you're not careful. So don't do that. Those kind of things, not easy to say, and it feels mean. But at the end of the day, the mean thing is to keep it to yourself. That's the very, very mean. I mean, it's ultimately, it's detrimental to somebody's career. If they're doing something wrong and you as their leader are not telling them they're messing up, you are setting them up for failure. I've been in HR meetings where we had to fire somebody and that person didn't know they were doing a bad job. Their leader was not telling them what was going on. So when they were sitting across the table from HR and they were like, this is your last day, you haven't been living up to the expectations of the job, that person was distraught. They were like, what do you mean? I've been all my scorecards have been good. What do you mean I'm not doing a good job? And it's like, that leader failed him. That leader dropped the ball. That leader put that person in a situation where they were blindsided. That is the worst position for somebody to be, is to be blindsided, thinking they were doing a good job, and be blindsided with an exit package. It's just, it sounds very straightforward of like, well, no, you should just tell them they're doing a bad job. But it's not easy for everybody. It's not easy for people to come in and say those things because they feel like they're being mean. They feel like they're hurting their feelings. They feel like they're tearing them down. But ultimately, you're not. You're building them up. And if you build Radical Candor properly, which I'll link the Radical Candor episode, you're building relationships with your people based on trust and empathy. So if you've done that, when you have a difficult conversation, they will think, okay, this person's telling me the truth. This person cares about me because I trust this person, and they always show me empathy. They're always empathetic, and they've earned my trust. So when they tell me that I'm failing, I can hear that as, hey, I'm failing, and I want you to do better. And as long as you're doing that, you are doing your difficult conversations correctly. If you're just coming in and telling people they're messing up, or you're being overly dramatic about it, or tearing them down, like actively, like just making them feel bad, you're not doing it right, ultimately. You're making it worse on yourself and on them. Because they're not going to respond. They're like, man, that person's a jerk. They don't care about me. They're just being mean. They're probably trying to get me fired. They don't really care. And it's like, ultimately, if that's not your goal, which I hope it's not, I hope you're not like playing games to try and get people fired. If you are, maybe time to do some soul searching. But ultimately, if you really want them to turn it around, which investing in new people sounds cool, but it's a lot of work and it takes a lot of time from your current place. So if you have an employee that's doing a good job and they're just having a bad time or they're struggling with something, helping them build through that and continue on their career at this company is way less impactful, way less costly, and doesn't impact the throughput as much. Now, if they're a toxic person, then that's different. Then build a case, but also try and support them to get out of that toxic situation. That's just part of it. You're gonna have to fire some people. That's part of leadership. It's the worst part of leadership, but it is. So having the difficult conversations, being direct, being clear, will make your job as a leader infinitely easier. And if HR has to get involved, it makes it much more clear that like you did everything you could for this person. And if you don't feel like you did, if you don't feel like you put yourself in a situation, you put them in a situation where they had all the information, all very direct and all very timely to make changes, you're gonna feel like shit in that meeting. Whether they deserve it or not, you're still gonna feel like shit. If you didn't leave it all on the table for that person, you're gonna feel like shit. I promise. It's the worst feeling in the world and you don't wanna do it. So, have your difficult conversations. Be empathetic. Build trust ahead of time so you can have those conversations and have them be effective. And then just be honest and direct. You don't have to be mean. You don't have to twist the knife. Be direct, be very matter of fact, support them, tell them you're there for them, help them build a plan to get back to a healthy state and move forward. It sounds super simple, it's very difficult, but I promise you, it's better to be direct and tell people where they're at than let it build and fester to where they're in a bad position and they either get exited or they have to move teams, or basically a lot of negative things for them that if you just would have had that one hard conversation, they would be in a much better spot potentially. So that's it. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions or want to dive into the topic deeper, jason@leaditfromhere.co. Otherwise, like, follow, subscribe if you like what you're hearing. And yeah, hit me up on any social media platforms if you want to chat. Also, take care. Take care of your people. See ya.